Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be doing a pre-first run service on my WLtoys 124018 RC truck. You may or may not be aware that WLtoys have seemed to release these cars with overfilled oil shocks, causing the suspension to be really stiff. I mean, look at that. Alright guys, let's do the service. Remove the 3 small screws on the bonnet or the hood and then lift off the bonnet. Undo this screw as well as the other screw in the opposite side and then lift up bumper as shown. Remove these 6 screws and detach the shock tower. Behind the front shock tower, remove these 4 screws from the second level. Remove this screw at the yellow arrow and swing this metal arm over to one side. Next, lift up the second level enough to be able to expose 2 screws. Those screws are in the position where the yellow arrows are pointing in this picture. I've already removed the screws in this picture, and once you've removed those 2, also remove the 4 screws where the green arrows are pointing. Again, I've already removed them in this picture. These 6 screws are what's holding down the diff housing cover. So after removing these screws, you'll be able to lift off the diff housing cover. As you can see, there really isn't much grease lubricating the differential gear and the main drive shaft gear. This is almost certain to damage the teeth on these gears. You can remove the differential now from the car, give it a wipe down to get rid of that grease that they put on. Undo the 4 screws to take the differential apart, and that'll expose the planetary gears. And you can see inside there that there is some grease in there, but I like to stuff a lot of grease into that. So pile in the grease there, fill it up to the brim, and yeah, maybe scoop a little bit out and then reassemble the differential, tightening up the 4 screws. Before putting the differential back into the car, just grease up that center drive shaft gear, generously grease up the differential gear and chuck it in. Now you can assemble it back by following the steps in reverse just earlier. Get it to a point where you leave the bonnet or the hood cover off, and we'll work on the front shocks. You can go ahead and remove the 2 screws attaching the shocks to the shock tower. The shock caps are really tight, so I used a wrench to grab a hold of the bottom half of the shock and another wrench to undo the shock cap. As you can see, the shock is filled to the brim, so this is what's causing major stiffness in the shocks. I carefully extracted some of the shock oil by using a syringe. You can see here how much I left in there, and repeat the same process with the opposite shock. Remove as much as you want or as little as you want, depends on your liking. You can see how much oil I removed from the 2 front shocks. It's about 5 mils all up. And that's it for the front. We're pretty much done. As you can see, you should be able to now push down nicely and easily onto the front. Give it a few tests to make sure it's working fine. Remove this screw to release the spare tyre. Remove the screws where the green arrows are pointing, and that will allow you to fold down the flap where the blue arrow is. Remove these 4 screws, and then you'll be able to swing down this piece, and after swinging it down, you just swing it a bit more towards yourself, like that. And that releases this part that was directly behind it. Now disconnect this end of this tie rod from the ball, and then that will separate the 2 wheels. Now go back to where the spare wheel was and remove these 2 screws. and take off this plastic piece. Now unfortunately I didn't get a shot of this, but there's 4 screws that you need to remove from the second level. If you look there you'll be able to see it, but in the where I've got the arrows, only one is visible, which is at the green arrow. The yellow arrows are pointing to screws which are not visible in this picture. Now again, I didn't get a chance to take a photo, but what you need to do is lift up the second level as much as you can, and that will expose 2 screws that you need to undo. Get those screws out and then remove the 4 screws from the top of the diff housing. Then you should be able to remove the diff housing and expose the diff. As you can see, the factory have put some grease on there, but it's not quite on the actual gears of the diff. And inside, again, the planetary gears do have some grease, but go ahead and top it up like you did with the front diff. And after reassembling the diff, grease up the diff gear and place it back into the car. And since we have a little bit of access to the spur gear, lift up the second level and put some grease onto the spur gear. Reassemble everything and then move on to the rear shocks. Now this syringe shows how much oil I removed from all 4 oil shocks altogether. It was around 10 mils. That's it, you're all done. Give it a bit of a test. Feel free to adjust the preload nut on each of the shocks to your liking. Well, that's it guys, you've completed the pre-first run service to your 124018 car. And you can now proceed to take it for your first run. Alright guys, I hope this video was helpful to you. This is a bit of a preview of the first run that I did. If you haven't seen that video yet, please click on the link in the description to that video, or I'll put a link on the top right hand corner of the screen, and hopefully you can watch that video. Now remember, I didn't run the car yet until after I had completed the pre-first run service. Had I not done so, there's no way that this car would have run as good as it did on my first run. And I really don't know why WLtoys put so much oil into the shocks. I don't know what their aim was or what they were trying to achieve, but it made the shocks really stiff, and it greaten the risk of breaking a seal in the shocks and end up having leaky shocks. So I don't know what the story is there. Alright guys, I'll leave it here. I'll finish up now. Thanks very much for watching. I do hope you find this video useful to all you 124018 owners or prospective owners. Please give a thumbs up to this video if you enjoyed it. Please feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos I have on RC car modifications, reviews, unboxings and test runs. Please also feel free to like and follow our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/mickorc. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.